introducing Nuign Specter. So I just pronounced it as Nguyen because I'm thinking of this name as, the Vietnamese surname, which I have right here. This surname that is most very commonly associated with Vietnamese people. And because I'm thinking this is either Nuign or Nguyen, or maybe Nuign. Maybe Nuign is the way to pronounce this. So I'll just say Nuign. This is Nuign Specter by Jake Clover. And immediately off the bat, it should be noted this has 38,000 views and 128 likes. That is yet another increase compared to Bear Surfin' Megawave, which is the game that came before this one. And this has 32,000 views, 81 likes. So even more people saw this one and even more people liked it. It should also be noted, I did briefly look, like once upon a time, not recently, I did briefly look at whether or not anyone actually has played this game. And apparently a pretty big YouTuber once played it, and that's about it. I think someone else also made a video essay on it. I'm not sure. It's just kind of strange. Like this game in particular, yeah. This game was made in Game Maker October 20th, 2012. It's for all ages with mild fantasy violence. And the description goes as such. An atmospheric experiment. Make sure to have sound on. And as we all know, these games start really loudly simply because, well, they're Game Maker games without volume sliders. Use arrows and the letter Z. So, taps. Yes. It's kind of like reading a good supernatural thriller and then finding the ghost was really just Old Man Withers in a mask. Dude, spoilers. Tigisb says, I'm so lost. I don't see the meaning. Chloe says, I love the atmosphere, but failed to pick up the gun. Choices matter, definitely. Jeff says, this game rocks my socks. And since then, Jeff has never put on any other sock in his life. Yeah, so let's start the game. My actions had attracted a specter, Jake Clover. Okay, I'm using arrows and Z, and my game is taking its time. There we go. Oh, what does he want? It's not going to tell me. I'm pushing the buttons again. Once again, it's just button pushing never works out for me. Doesn't even work out for me when I play fighting games. When I pick a... how do you say her name? Ibuki? There's a actual person who studied and okay, so anyway, here's ceramics on the floor. I'm just happy to have an arrow point right to it. I don't even know what the arrow is going to mean. And I'm going out for a night stroll, just the old night feeling. And I'm going to keep walking. And you notice that I ignored the shotgun because violence never solves anything. What would violence do in the presence of a specter? So I'm going to get the shotgun and I'm going to use it in self-defense. It's the sort of self-defense that is completely acceptable. This is, I don't often have to partake in self-defense, unless maybe I have. Oh, I have unlimited ammo. And that's actually really loud. I can barely hear the music, but that shotgun blast was actually really loud. And it makes me think, secretly, this game needs a compressor. I know that there are some horror games that actually do have ways to lower dynamic range. Like this sort of kind of scuffed horror games, as some may describe them. I don't personally describe them as scuffed. It's become such a common term to use, scuffed, that I don't know. It really has. Okay, hold on. Or maybe it's next scene. There we go. See, it's just like swatting flies. So for whatever reason, scuffed has actually kind of caught on into the VTuber scene, like just a little bit. I've seen a few VTuber. Oh, I left my gun. Why did I drop it? Oh, if you push down, you drop it off. Okay. So, and some people, if you are anything like me, you know where scuffed comes from. Oh, I see there are like 3 moons. It's either that or like 3 eyes closed. which maybe is a poem that someone has posted on Poetry Foundation. Okay, this is how you enter the market in this world. I once upon a time actually did enter a market like that, and then I woke up. That is my grand story. That's the type of story that I think video essayists are going to analyze. It's going to take them approximately 3 hours. So now I wonder, maybe I have to enter peacefully. Let's try peace. It's not going to work. Maybe the moral of the story is that shotguns are... This is why... Oh, let me package. This game also has like its fair share of flashing lights, which you don't really expect it to have. Like, especially in this corridor here, there's not really anything that's going on. Why does there have to be flashing lights at all? Okay. Makes you think that maybe that guy's the Specter, right? Maybe the Specter is the friends we made along the way. Yeah, I'm sorry. That was really just cliche. But the point is, this is a gotcha moment. Just unnecessary to walk in this neighborhood. Can you imagine if this were it's like, imagine if an anime had you walk down to the local convenience store and suddenly you actually had to defend yourself in this way. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying, in Japan, in the Japanese animes that I once watched, people go to the convenience store and then somehow along the way they meet the romantic interest along that route. Where's my romantic interest? Is it secretly like they have shotguns and are just out to get me? Because I guess in a sense, right, love and hate are not, as many would say, those are like not the opposites, right? Those are very much emotions that for some are intertwined. As we all know, hate watchers are a real thing. And maybe the guys with shotguns are actually, it's like I said, maybe those are actually my friends. You know, they really love me and they're trying to stop me from making bad decisions. They don't think that it is okay for me to feed the Specter, the Nuign Specter, which is not a real word, by the way. I looked it up. So, but I don't even know how the Wolfman here with the shotgun even knows, or even thinks like, yeah, this is the actual terminology. I mean, of course, this is a different universe, but the universe shares a lot in common with ours. That especially shares the concept of houses, of specters, of... Okay, what else? I see. And that's it. Yeah, that's the game. Because, like, what else? Because I couldn't do anything else there. And it was clearly going to be just how it was supposed to... What was to happen was always meant to be what it was. And, of course, here... Yeah, see? You can't do it. It's like that on purpose, right? Clearly, choices matter. Just like in my favorite games. Like in... I was going to say Detroit Become Human, but I can't even say that as a joke. Apologies. I couldn't sell the joke. So I tried to pre-fire like I do in Counter-Strike. It didn't work. And I think I can tell now the reason why the wolf man here lights the cigarette is specifically so Jake can stall, because he knows people are going to try this and he knows that they're going to fail, because like it's programmed to fail, right? And of course, as it's programmed to fail, you're going to try again because you pretty much go to the beginning, right? It's just like maybe kind of like a hidden action. It's meant to definitely test your patience, but the point is you're not supposed to use your patience at all. Yeah, I mean, that's my analysis. I don't actually know why maybe Jake just thought, oh, it's pretty cool, like the dude smoking, right? Anyway, that's the game. And I'm actually going to make sure in the posted recording it's not that loud. Yeah, make sure to have sound on. See, like this is a ruse, because that shotgun blast is actually loud. It's not let me see. I actually have a meter. Okay, never mind, my meter was not working. And here are the comments. Of course, I'm gonna bring up the best ones. Not the best ones, the ones that seem the most interesting, because I don't think we should necessarily think about making the best comments on a page of a game, unless you are a Steam user and you happen to stumble upon the Overwatch 2 store page and you want to make a certain joke about certain artists who put in more work over the actual artists. So this dude Brian says there's a secret shortcut ending, finding all possible outcomes. This game really has, because I don't know what else you can do in this game. It seems like you can only go back and forth. I'm missing something anyway. Beat the game in about 12 seconds. I feel this guy's memeing. Reminded me of the old Alone in the Dark games. And that's what Jake was going for. I have no idea what Alone in the Dark games are. Can only be seen by old men. Like that sounds like a spoiler for Alone in the Dark. Now maybe I've heard of Alone in the Dark, but I don't think so. Alone in the Dark survival horror video game series. Okay, yeah, I remember this. I remember this game, but I don't think that's what it's referring to. I don't think this is the reference, or is it? Because this is different, I think, than this. Yeah, they're two Alone in the Dark games, and it's by, unless these are based off the same thing. It's 1992, 2000. Oh, these are the same series. Okay, and that was a soft reboot, perhaps. Jack Spinoza says, like, people rate films, music, painting, whatever on meaning. What is meaning? I judge meaning on the terms, subjectively. Does it take me someplace? Does it attempt to translate an emotion? Does it display technique? Objectively, is it inspiring? Does it have novelty? This ticks them all. Okay. I wonder how true. I guess that is true. I feel some people just like think about how high quality a piece of work is, and then that's how they rate it. I don't know for sure though. I am familiar with people rating things, but I don't know if people consider meaning necessarily. Like when you listen to, here. When you listen to In a Silent Way by Miles Davis, how much of the meaning are you thinking of? When you listen to Miles Davis, I don't even remember if it's Miles Davis. Okay, but you get the point, right? When you listen to Miles Davis doing jazz, how much do you think of the meaning? There is meaning in some of it, for sure, but it feels like contextual. It doesn't feel as if it's conveyed directly in the music itself. I don't know. I'm just unnecessarily trying to argue against this. Or maybe I'm actually supporting the argument. So Indie Game Hunt. This is my favorite game of yours so far. So good, chilling, surreal, deliberately paced with bursts of shocking violence, seemingly allegorical in a Lynchian way. Great art that reminds me of paper cutouts. So I think Indie Game Hunt is exaggerating, but I think Indie Game Hunt is on point here. The art style actually really, so now I'm gonna copy paste his opinion. If you kind of catch my drift, that is it's like paper cutouts, and I can see the Lynchian vibe. I've only seen Mulholland Drive, but I do get like the Mulholland Drive from it. Yeah. Well, thanks for the video. And speaking of which, I also don't think I did this game justice with my commentary, but whatever. I also got cut off. And here, look, another video with commentary. Sandwich commentary. Every time I got shot, I jumped up on the chair. Yeah, now that I think about it, that really is what he was trying to do. And this is just a confirmation of it. I'm going to agree with Nario here. I don't think I finished it. Apparently there are multiple endings, and I don't know how to get more than one or two, I guess. So Katniss or Catherine Cross. This was one of the weirdest games I've ever played. It took me a while to get the hang of it, and the Spectre killed me at the end, and I had to start all over, which made it long and kind of annoying, but it was strange and had a good feel to it. I enjoyed it. So now that I'm thinking about it, maybe you weren't supposed to actually get killed by the Spectre. Like, maybe I was not supposed to have the gun when I went in. I was simply supposed to just hang on to the cart or drop the gun outside. But I don't know. I have to do it, don't I? I feel it's not a good time for everyone, but I think I have to see the alternative to the game's ending. Because why did I not just... I had no idea that I was going to get shot as soon as they brought out a shotgun. I could have expected it, but there's no precedent built there, I would say. This is, again, a gotcha moment. Perhaps some commenters would describe. I like poop. Raxpel comments, is there a difference between serving him and killing him? I just keep Z and ended up with killing him. Well, I don't get this thing anyway. It's good game though. Okay. Yeah, see, there's a different ending. I didn't get it. Jernocuous says, I beat it and the objective is simpler than you think. Grab the gun by pressing up, travel to the left. I think it means right. Go into the store, kill the clerk with the gun, go home, drop the gun first, and finally feed the Spectre. I like to imagine it's really that you're an insane old man and the Spectre tells you to feed him, when in actuality you are feeding your urge to kill. I feel I kind of spoiled the entire moral of the story there. Or the what someone said was allegorical. But I don't think that's correct, because I think allegory has a specific meaning. Allegory, the representation of abstract ideas or principles by characters, figures, or events in narrative, dramatic, or pictorial form. Okay, no, I think allegory, maybe metaphor, I guess, as well. Yeah, I believe that fits. So Amy here says, the imagery is indescribably potent, possibly because it's so impenetrable. Coupled with the odd sounds, the game created a feeling I've never experienced before. I was more intrigued walking from left to right for 10 screens and then back again than I have felt playing elaborate adventure games. Thanks, says Jake. I want to say that this is probably an exaggeration, mostly because there has to be people who are just, I don't know, I feel this is something that you would expect to read for Silent Hill 2, like for just some dude on the internet describing why Silent Hill 2 is a masterpiece, right? I guess we all have our own masterpieces, but it makes you think maybe what we consider to be a masterpiece by consensus is how common an experience is, right? So for this person, having an experience like this being so, I guess, unique for them might not be the case for the amount of people who have played Silent Hill 2 and had that experience from Silent Hill 2, but would not be able to get it from this game. I think is kind of maybe something I'm trying to elaborate on, to borrow some vocabulary there. So Jellygal, the constant, has said, this game has amazing atmosphere. The setting is really cool and the visuals are really interesting. The ambient sounds are really creepy, and I like that there are multiple ways to get rid of the Spectre. While the gameplay isn't the best, I love this game. It's weird, surreal, creepy, and really good. Recommended. I don't have much to say in response to that, but I think Jellygal uses the word really and very, maybe a little bit too much. Maybe I would catch myself using those words a lot too. Really, definition, an actual truth or fact. Adverb. So it's a lot of adverbs there. So before I continue, I think I'm gonna actually retry the game and obviously change up my approach. So here we are again, as if it were just some sort of endless stream in some old Wolverine's head. But let's discuss the part that was not quite so obvious. Why are there flashing lights in this game? Why is the room flashing the way it is? I mean, I guess the house is in some sort of disrepair, but it just doesn't really feel as obvious as we think it is. Yeah, that's really loud. And I have considerably lowered the volume at this point by 10 decibels. Because I don't think we really need to have such imagery be displaced by a shotgun, and I don't think we need to have our ears also displaced by a shotgun. But also to get back to the other issue at hand, I don't really think that there should be flashing lights the way it is here. I don't think it does anyone any good. I don't think it necessarily makes it more... I don't think it makes anything more spooky, or it makes the atmosphere considerably improved. You know, it's not like I'm watching Serial Experiments Lane or Monogatari, if that's how you pronounce it, and I'm trying to I'm trying to go through the multiple scenes it's giving me all at once, right? That are so quick that it might as well be flashing before my eyes. Of course not. It's not what I'm doing. But I forgot what I was like trying to say in the first place. Oh, you actually need the... I see the arrow at the beginning of the game. Okay, I decided to skip it to see what was going to happen, and look at that. I have been rewarded, clearly. And I also have learned you walk faster without the gun. I'm not going to walk back there, by the way. I'm just going to see what happens if I just want to see what happens if I enter this screen again. Nothing, okay. So I think in a sense, this game really is the... kind of another turning point, to be a little bit cliche, I guess, about the words I'm using. It's definitely another case where I think I don't know, it's trying to actually convey something with a bit of depth to it. But of course, one might argue, like, what is depth, right? If we listen to a very technical piece of music, we might not take anything away from it. And for some people, I think a common, I like this band, but the band I'm going to mention is definitely, I've seen the sentiment before. This band known as Covet, with the lead of it being Yvette Young, who's pretty popular on YouTube. It just seems like she can definitely play the heck out of a guitar, but a lot of people may not really take anything away from it, right? For a lot of people, it's just like, okay, yeah, you are certainly playing the guitar in a way that is proficient, but it's like, but like, where are the messages that I'm supposed to truly take away? On the other hand, like, I could listen to Radiohead and get something from it. I could listen to Black Midi and I could think, but Black Midi has like the same. Okay, I tried shooting to see if anything was gonna happen there, and I don't think so. So anyway, like, I could listen to Black Midi, and you could listen to John 50 and understand the messages of John 50. You could listen to, was it Sun Tzu, and understand, of course, the messages of Sun Tzu, being it's about like a boxing ring, and the one, I mean, I'm spoiling the song, but I don't think we care about songs being spoiled. Oddly enough, that has to be one of the more stranger things about spoiling that is not discussed enough, I guess. And I'm gonna assume you can't do anything with the door. Look at me. This is me wave dashing. That's a newfound dance. So let me kill the clerk here, and then I'll finish my point about like technical music. So when we listen to Black Midi, I was talking about was it Sugar Zoo, right? I said Sun Tzu, that's because zoo. But when you listen to Sugar Zoo, you think about how the entire story, which again, I'm gonna spoil it, but no one cares about spoilers when it comes to music. The whole story is about. Let me take care of the guy outside, and then I'll finish it. I'm sorry. Okay, so the whole story is basically about a boxing match, and it was one side was favored to win it, and so the one kid is there's a kid who's watching the boxing match, and the kid has effectively assassinates the boxer who is favored to win, and the protagonist is basically flaunting about how they made the other boxer famous, because by default the other boxer won due to the favorite boxer being assassinated. Now, I say favorite boxer. I'm not using names because I don't remember who's Sugar and who's Zoo. It's been a while since I've seen or heard the song and seen the music video. But of course, what I'm trying to get at is like, Covet and Black Midi are both two dimensions of technical music. And at the end of the day, people are going to walk away from Black Midi thinking, wow, this has real depth to it and a message and something that, like, I guess affects you personally. But you listen to Covet and you think, well, I could see, I just put on Covet on in the background while Yvette, plays her heart out, versus maybe Gordy Greep trying to do a bunch of arpeggios, back to back. Okay, and hopefully I don't get shot here. There you go. That's one jar. And then I'm going to leave. And then I'm going to go back in. And he left. The Spectre is no more. All right. Well, at least I achieved the most straightforward ending. Do I feel satisfied? One might ask. Well, I actually did like discussing Black Midi and Covet. So, yeah, I think that was satisfactory. My point is about those two bands is when we think about games like this, what kind of depth do we think or technical design do we think this game is? I don't really have any certain answers myself, but I do wonder if some people are going to look at this and say, "Now this is like Covet, right? Where it is well designed, but it just is lacking the sort of extension into something more personal or meaningful." And on the other hand, maybe some people think that this is like a Black Midi sort of deal where it does have that sort of more interestingly designed technicalities to accompany it, where you learn about the stories of like ascending fourths, and the what was it like 27, 26 questions. This I don't remember the song names, I'm sorry. But when you hear those songs, right, there's a message that is being accompanied with it compared to just listening to Covet. I hope I made that point reasonably well. I think I did. I think it's understandable, but okay, I'll just continue. Was Not, Why Not has commented, "Man, that was intense, anxious, sarcastic and inviting, amazing sounds and visuals. Coolest character in the game? Probably. Wouldn't be anything without that smoke in the beginning. That walk, toting gun, normal, normal, normal. Attracting a specter, normal, 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 boom, normal, boom. Getting groceries, I feel death. God damn, this is going to be one of my favorite games ever. I'm going to soak in it some more." I'm just curious. This is the first time I've seen someone like someone else's comment. And yeah, that's a real like. And Jake is glad that this person enjoyed the game. So, I mean, I would just be repeating myself here. I think that this game definitely understands what it's trying to do. And honestly, that one comment, I just think about that one comment. It's feeding your urge to kill. I feel this is going to be the highlight. This is the star comment. So I'm going to give 3 claps, approximately. And I feel of all the extensive comments on here, that is the one that like I think understood it the most, because that has actually made me rethink the entirety of the game. Not the entirety of the game, but like what the game is trying to convey. And what I'm trying to do a little bit is like compare and contrast to comments like this. I think this comment is praising the game appropriately, but it doesn't really make me think of the game differently. It just makes me think, well, how many people are going to like Solid Snake because, he's supposed to be a very cool and experienced, I guess, master of espionage who also smokes cigarettes, because I think Kojima had a thing about like cigarettes that he had in mind when designing Solid Snake. I just keep thinking like, I can see why you really like the game, but where does it put it in the entire landscape of video gaming? Like, is this game really that much better than Metal Gear Solid? Yeah, maybe. It depends what you really want from games. Maybe you prefer the quick experiences, especially quick experiences that do have a few dimensions to them. And for maybe like a similar reason, that's why some people like, how about this? Like Resident Evil 4 remake over Baldur's Gate 3, because Baldur's Gate is just too long. But Resident Evil is like pretty compact, right? You can go through the campaign and you can get a very quick and simple, but still exceedingly fun experience. I don't know. I'm just like throwing out ideas out there. And before I close the comments here, I just want to I want to apologize, because I know I really should have tried to get to the ending of the game, especially because this is one of the easier games to actually play in the arsenal of Jake Clover. I'm just a little bit too stubborn about redoing games. It's just a problem on my end, and I need to improve on it. So, what do the people on Glitchwave think about this game? There are 9 ratings, and that's a lot more than like the 2 or 3 that are usually bestowed upon the Jake Clover games. And it is a total of 2.78 out of 5. So it's an improvement, definitely an improvement. There's a review there, but I'll come back to it. And you probably already know the person who made the review is the first person to have rated this and the person who actually allowed this page to exist. So here we have a series of ratings. We have a 5 out of 10, 3 out of 5, which I'll translate to a 10, which is a 6 out of 10, a 2 out of 10, a 5 out of 10, a 6 out of 10, a 10 out of 10, a 7 out of 10, a 4 out of 10, and a 6 out of 10. So I'm curious. This person has a 10 out of 10. How many 10s do they have? They have pretty much majority 10s. Yeah, I mean, I guess they like games. They do like games. So the creator of this review, who again, one of the first person to rate it and the person who put the page up here, has made this review, as I redundantly said. Nuign Specter is a turning point. Wow, I just made up turning point. And also, I did kind of say this is also another turning point, just to be maybe a little bit repetitive about it. Yeah, I agree, this is a turning point. His previous games were highly derivative works such as Chook Driver Extreme, Bear Surfin' Mega Wave, Roadkill Bonanza 3, the kind of thing you could find countless examples of in Newgrounds, quirky against a background of hundreds of other games with very similar quirks. Yeah, I agree. And I think I kind of tried to say something like this by... I'm not the most experienced in this realm of Flash or Newgrounds games, although I have taken my time in that realm before. But there is something about those 3 games that were listed that you can just tell they're not quite original. The appearance is definitely unfounded, but the mechanics, the gameplay, and even the vibe is perhaps very familiar. Nuign Specter is an attempt at creating something more mature, and for Jake, this means rejecting every cliche his previous output had fallen prey to. The bright farmyard animals of Roadkill Bonanza 3 are inverted to become Nuign Specter's gray cigarette-smoking wolf. Bright explosion-based gameplay is reduced to the ability to walk slowly left and right. Bright explosion-y atmosphere is replaced with muted colors, cinematic framing, and constant flickering. Yeah, speaking of which, I didn't like that flickering. The previous description might unfairly paint Nuign Specter as a game that takes itself too seriously or as a game that tries too hard to be a piece of art. Thankfully, that couldn't be further from the truth. The abandonment of Flash game cliches in Nuign Specter has not resulted in Jake adopting the equally boring set of art game cliches that we might generally encounter in a game labeled as an atmospheric experiment. So, look at this. This person's also using art game. Apparently we're like on the same wavelength here. I also definitely agree with everything he's saying here. This is a definite departure. I still think that the kind of true departure that maybe one could argue is Sheep Goes to Space, but I would say this one is more certain, and mostly because of the gameplay options that are present. And apparently there are multiple endings, because in comparison, Sheep Goes to Space it's narrative exploration. I don't think that there are multiple endings, so to speak. And I say so to speak about the endings present because I'm not sure how many endings there are, and unfortunately, I don't really have the available schedule to flesh out this game to that maximum. The world this wolf inhabits is not a world of dull artistic symbolism or ham-fisted didacticism. First time I've ever said that word out loud. It is very much a cartoon world. There are still touches of humor and silly scenarios, but they are deprioritized. I usually know how to say priority. Deprioritized. They mingle with the cinematic noir pastiche at the forefront of the experience to create something that starts to feel something unique. And yeah, noir. Yeah. I can't describe noir, but it's like noir. It reminds me of like Stanley Kubrick's The Killing, I guess. There are still a few elements of the game that seem to indicate some remaining artistic immaturity. The rather unnecessary and sudden piece of action about a quarter of the way through the game seems to indicate a lack of confidence in the more subtle atmosphere and narrative focus that Jake is otherwise interested in maintaining. Nonetheless, Nuign Specter is a fairly interesting game. Some of the games Jake went on to create later are among the best games I've ever played, and it seems to me that this is the point where he began to become the artist he is today. And what did I say? This person, Shan Medine, had ideas in mind. This is real appreciation, more appreciation than I have done. Definitively. Even my videos are garbage compared to this review. And this is like the kind of thing that I think is inspirational. It convinces me, it inspires me to take a look at who Jake Clover is. And I'm very much curious to see how all of this expands more and more as time goes on. And okay, yeah. So with the community review out of the way, let's go to the game review. Simple. You walk with arrows going left and right. You pick up the gun with up, and you put down the gun with down. You shoot gun with Z, and you walk faster without the gun. I think that's about it. So if you want to make the argument for resource management, I would say you have like 1 life to manage, and you have to bring food to the Specter. Although you collect so much food that it's not really a resource that you have to care about, because the Specter only needs 1 can of food before he gets the heck out of there. So is this game fun? And I'm gonna give it a definite yeah. And for all my complaints, I just know I'm a salty gamer about getting shot and about hearing loud shotgun sounds. I think that those are... I don't like to restart games, from the beginning like that. But I understand that ultimately I'm trying to present this in a positive light, not in a positive light, because these are... I think many things can be criticized. Even the video I'm making right now can be criticized. But what I'm saying is, I think I should understand I need to pull through. I need to do everything I can to make sure the performance is as best as possible. And I'm still getting used to all of that. And hearing loud not shotgun sounds. I think those are a little bit too much. I understand why, because it is supposed to simulate the feeling as if you were actually, hearing a shotgun being fired perhaps in real life. But I still could do without that. I damaged my hearing enough listening to all the music that I reference. For ease of use, I think in general, your average gamer will be able to play it and achieve one of the definitive endings. But I think you might need good reflexes for the bear. And if you're not like the fastest paced gamer, maybe that'll really catch you off guard. For graphics, I think it's pretty clear what the characters are supposed to be. It's a paper cutout. It's a paper cutout theme, and I think the theme is pretty much executed very appropriately. I don't think that there are instances where I thought that something should not have been a paper cutout. And yeah, I'm stealing that description. The market is one case where it's clearly unusual. It's as if there's a bunker located right next to that market. It's like there are a few dimensions, right? Of course, the paper cutout appearance, like Paper Mario, because paper Mario, and then there's the whole just the odd occurrences that occur. I could not find a better word. For example, when you are walking next to one of the trees and a specter appears to be watching you. And let me write that. And of course the market, and perhaps one of the scenes which had a sort of church in the background. I'd say it's pretty well developed for the brief experience that it is, with ideas that can kind of walk outside and provoke you with very loud sounds. So I'm going to boot up the game again to remember the track. So I'm listening to the ambient track again, and I'll say that the track reminds me of a certain Undertale song, but I'm not gonna say what it is because it would be a spoiler. But just know that this track reminds me of Undertale. And for sound design, the main thing, obviously I've already said it, the shotgun is very loud. And I understand why. It's to simulate the feeling of firing it. So for the story, clearly it's straightforward, but it's just the dimensions that are unspoken that in a sense add to it. You feed the Specter, you shoot dudes, and the Specter retreats when fed. But of course, there's the dimension that is unspoken. For example, what kind of house is this? Is there like a dude in the starting screen that is just laying down? I'm not quite sure if that's like a sleeping wolf or if that's a wolf who's been felled. The other details, for example, what kind of market that is. Why does the market need a sort of key card? Why, I don't know. Why is there a window broken at the beginning of the house? Why does the house have cracks in the floors? I guess that's like the sort of background story. And for writing, I'd say the only real comments made are when the main character just simply states that a specter has now made it into his house. That is the comment. Is it repetitive? If you wield the shotgun with haste, yes it is. And of course, I did so, and I now understand that this is repetitive in that case. But in general, I think the checkpoints are very well laid out. And these checkpoints avoid repetition because when you go into the market, you get shot and you realize, oh, I'm supposed to shoot back. And you basically start outside the market. You can go inside, shoot the clerk, get what you want, get all your groceries, get your favorite bike to ride around your neighborhood someday, and you can go back home. And then you try to go back home. There's the other wolf with the shotgun, and then you have to solve that problem, so on and so forth. Checkpoints are very well done. Where does it stand in the wider scheme of all things gamer? So I'm going to steal that one reviewer's description. It avoids the Newgrounds flavor, and it's a step towards art games with background depth. I know that the reviewer did say that Jake doesn't adopt art game cliches, but I'm still going to say that this is a step towards art games, primarily because I don't think it completely separates itself enough. There's just not like this massive... Maybe because I'm biased, because this is like the first or second time that Jake really tries to make... has really tried to make an art game. And I'm not trying to be derogatory about it, right? I think that this is a pretty good art game. This is something I would have really enjoyed playing when I was like in my Newgrounds Flash game era, something like that. I know I don't consider this to be like a cliche art game, but I think it's fine to call it an art game. Where does Nuign Specter stand amongst the work of the developer? And I'm going to steal the comment of the reviewer once again. I also did make this statement myself, but I think it also bears emphasis that this is the turning point of artistic direction. This is where the games really do evolve into something that's not just like an arcade style mouse controlling experience with all sorts of visuals that are meant to provide just way too much flavor all at once in order to simply stimulate you and maintain your attention. Now it's trying to tell a story with thoughts and theories that can arrive into your head. And I just want to credit the two people who I've been stealing comments from. I want to credit Drinoculus, what a name, for highlighting how the Specter feels like when you feed the Specter, you are in a sense feeding your urge to kill, basically because of how you're killing certain persons along the way, and then you come back just to feed the Specter with a bunch of violence that has been newfound. And of course, I want to give credit to Shandine Mandine for the review and I guess providing me the long-term perspective on Jake Clover, and also for pretty much illuminating on what I've commented on a little bit and showing that I'm not crazy for making certain judgments. And as I've mentioned, I want to apologize for like not truly trying to drive myself into the game. If I maybe is the way to say it. I should be way more dedicated to these games, and I should accept that sometimes I just straight up lose. Sometimes I'm not going to be good enough for the game, and it's going to get me at some point, right? Like these games are going to have these traps set up because that's how they're designed. And I need to understand, I need to like pick up from where I left off, and I need to push on. And I'm trying to get over that mentality of being impeded and understand how to keep moving forward and finally flesh out these games in the way that they deserve and to finish them appropriately. And I would just like to apologize for not committing to that. And of course, as always, GG's, good games.